Hello to everybody. Hello to you all. I'm just going to check that this is live. It's a bit unexpected coming on, but I'm just always wanting to try and support you in any moment that I feel called to. Okay, so we're going to talk today about the mind and the elephant in the room in this time, in this era, and I hope that it can, help you observe self, and help you raise in your own consciousness. So I'm just going to check that we're live. Okay. Okay, so welcome to you all. And as always, this is just one sharing. Please forgive any giggles that arise during this live. I have got the giggles today for no reason whatsoever. If it doesn't resonate for you, please just always just let it be. My hope is always that if I can help support one person, then it's worth it. Okay. So I want to go over maybe just a few things that I've shared many years ago that may have been forgotten, or if you're new here, just about the mind and what happens in the brain. And then hopefully, if I can remember, which is why I've come on, just to sort of help you see the elephant in the room in this collective world, and if you can see the elephant in the room, then it can help you be aware of more choices. So in terms of the brain, this is stuff I've shared years and years ago repeatedly, is that at a particular point during our awakening, it can happen right at the start of our awakening, or it can happen during the process of awakening, the brain begins to activate. I feel energy all the time in my head. I can literally feel the electricity jumping from neuron to neuron in my head. And that's what happens within everybody during their awakening. During the lifetime, only a certain part of the brain is functioning, a certain amount. And so when we awaken, and as we awaken, electricity goes from one neuron to another neuron, and then another and another. And it fires up neurons in the brain that then create vibrational pulses and vibrational patterns within the brain. So it's almost like a series of patterns that ignite and ignite. And this happens over years, it's not instant. It starts with just feeling like there are ants tingling on your scalp. Now that's the electricity firing from neuron to neuron inside the brain. That's how it starts. But if you attune to that, if you are fascinated by that within you, and you be still, what you're doing is you're giving your attention to it. So it expands and expands by the choice of what you give your attention to. And then you get to feel the patterns within the brain. And You know, I've drawn these patterns out many years ago. They were on the Facebook pictures folder. There's infinity patterns, there's arc patterns, there's spiral patterns, there's circular patterns, clockwise, anti-clockwise, etc. There's a pattern that goes from here to the heart center, not your physical heart, but the heart chakra. And it repeatedly goes from here, and that's what I called many years ago the marriage of the heart, the brain to the heart, is when the brain starts to listen more and more to the heart, you could say. That's how it seems at a mental level, is you start listening more and more to your heart and not your head. But energetically, electrically, magnetically, what happens is there's a connection being made from the brain to the heart, and it goes on and on and on for years. There's patterns that then get created through the body, and again, if you attune to them, if you be still, if you don't think and you just feel, you can pick up on them. And the more you choose to do that, the more it seems they amplify. But what it is it's you attuning to energy. You know, the energy's always there. It's just that we can choose to attune to it. And the more we give our focus and attention to energy, the more we feel energy, the more we become the feeling being, the more we become sentient. And sentience means energetically sensitive. It's all the way I can describe it, energetically sensitive. Not just to this world, but to all the hidden layers beyond the veil. And then you bring all of that through you, you know, step by step, year by year. That's the journey into what I call the human energetica. So, you know, we're kind of going from this era, if you like, of humanity that became the mental mind. Everybody sort of survived and operated from the mind. But it's up to you when you choose to let that go at your right timing. And just attune to the subtle planes that can't be accessed through the mental body, the mental mind. And what this does is it sort of brings me on to, you know, this, at least for a year. I remember the videos I did in 2023. All of them actually pointed to you know, the outer world getting seemingly louder. I think I did about 3 videos kind of trying to just subtly point to that. And I'm sure you can notice that now. But what happens is that, you know, these incoming energies have been accruing and accruing and accruing for years. The energetics have been going through those patterns as well, because it's micro and macro. And what this does is the higher the frequency that the planet receives, which has been getting higher and higher and higher over the years, it creates a faster spin at atomic level within the body. And this is at atomic level. The electron spins faster. And I only know all of this because I get shown from within me, as well as I can feel the speed of the atomic spin within me. And there's 2 ways you can be with that, with the faster spin, because it's not going to go away. It will just keep getting faster and faster. And why? Because we're becoming energetic. You know, humanity is evolving. Humanity's consciousness is rising, as we all know it will and is. Okay, so there's two ways to respond to the faster spin that is at atomic level within every single atom within your body and your mind, in your brain. One is to not be aware of it, and then what happens is the thoughts are faster. They become faster, incessant, and you know, this age, if we look at it at a bigger level in terms of the collective, this age, it really is an age of mass information, as it's supposed to be. But do you let the age of mass information and the faster spin that's affecting your brain, do you allow that to overcome you? As the elephant in the room, you know, it really depends on what you focus on. Are you constantly focusing on social media or the news, or anything around you in your life setup, your work, your family, your outer surroundings? You know, is it that all of that is consuming you? Or is it that, you know, within the spiritual arena, there are so many different perspectives, as there are supposed to be, yeah? Because we're all individual and we're all on our own paths and we all have a purpose, and that purpose is different for all of us. But are you dashing around, you know, the spiritual arena, seeking information here, there, and everywhere every day? Because that is just the mind. All that I've just described, whether it's your daily life, your daily activity, your daily focus, or what you're reading, what you're thinking about. The elephant in the room is that that is just the mind. You see, when after we were born, we got taught pretty much straight away, you know, that this is a phone and this is a chicken, and you know, this is a glass and it's got water in it. You know, we're taught from the outside. We're taught a language, a human language, and we're taught the meaning of things. But we're taught always from the outside, and we're taught by the human beings in our life growing up that are also inside of a program. So they're immersed in a program, and they're helping us to learn by learning outside of ourselves, which actually takes us into the program. And it's that we're coming out of. And that's the elephant in the room, really, in terms of enlightenment, embodiment, no matter where you are in the world. Is that really, you know, if that's what you're seeking, if you're seeking to be your higher state of consciousness this lifetime and give from there and be from there, if you're seeking to be outside of mental suffering, emotional suffering that arises only from the mental mind, if you're seeking to be free of that, then any person, any teacher, any guru will always point you inward. Always. Because the outer is just an appearance. The outer is already created. If we wish to change the world, it is about changing ourselves first. And that can only arise by going inward, by doing the opposite of the program. We're taught we know at school, we learn from books, we learn from the computer, we learn from the teachers at school when we're growing up. Everything is on the outside. That's how we learn. And then we're tested on our IQ based on what we've remembered from the outside. It's all the opposite. This ascension is the complete and utter opposite. It really is the opposite of what we've grown up in and come out of. You know, I don't know much at all about, I only know my own way of embodying, which has always been from within me, rather than, I've never had a teacher or guru. I was always taught to learn from within me, and that although that might seem to be the hardest path, it would be the quickest route. And I've stuck by that for 12 years now. So I don't know much. I'm very, very ignorant about other cultures and you know, how other cultures around the world reach their state of embodiment and enlightenment. But I do know a little bit, in the sense that, you know, the traditional Buddhist route is in quietness through meditation. And the same for Hindus and Sufis. You know, they do use the mantras, but the point of the mantras is just a tool. A mantra is just a tool to get you to the state and the space of consciousness that is beyond that tool, that is the silence, that is the everything, that is completely and utterly alive. So I don't know much. I don't know anything really about other cultures around the world. But I do know that no matter what we learn from outside of us, no matter how much we read, there'll come a point when each turn inward. There's no amount of knowledge outside of us that can automatically take us into a higher state of consciousness. It can only point us to going into the silence, to actually experience consciousness before God, Source, created anything, before it created all the planes of existence, including the astral realm. And it's when you go inward and experience that, and choose that each day to experience, that it, you know, gently, gradually, over time, through your devotion, years, that state then becomes your state as you're speaking, or as you're talking, or as you're doing the dishes, or as you're shopping in the supermarket. It just becomes you because you've chosen to align to it. The other thing I want to share again, because this is prophecy that this age of mass information, this age of not knowing who to believe and what to read things, and is it true and is it not true, it's all prophesized. We're still in that prophecy that I haven't really spoken much about in recent months. There'll come a time when I do. But we're still in it. We're absolutely in that age that's prophesized of not knowing who to believe, where neighbor fights against neighbor, where at a earthly level there's more floods and fires and earthquakes and volcanoes. We're in the prophecy. So it's about how do we choose to meet it? What do we want? What do you want? Do you want to be swamped by it? Or do you want to be the observer of it and rise out of it into a higher state of consciousness? And that there's no right or wrong choice ever for anyone, as I repeatedly say. It isn't God's source that judges anyone's choice. It's only human beings that judge human beings. There's no right or wrong choice. The thing about the mind, based on what I've shared so far about how the brain changes and activates, what's happening in the brain itself as it activates more and activates more and activates more, if you're choosing that, is it opens up the dormant pathways within the brain that were dormant. So the brain was only being utilized in so much of its capacity, and what the firing up neuron to neuron actually achieves, just slowly, is it allows the brain as a receiver to attune and process higher wavelengths, higher hertz wavelengths. And what that does is it's like you just receive more information. It can be what are the words? You see, I'm so ignorant. There's clear cognizance, okay, and I've experienced that for years, where one moment you didn't know information about something, and then suddenly you could talk in your mind for half an hour about a subject you knew nothing about, and that's clear cognizance. And so the more the brain activates, the more it's able to interpret the higher frequencies that were always there, the wavelengths that were always there. And so it's like light packages. I describe it as light packages. They just open up within you, and you suddenly know. You suddenly know information, and it's just coming from within you, not outside of you. And it's designed for you to know. Another person will receive different information that's designed for them to know. You know, that's another thing, is what information is coming from within you that is just designed for you to know, and what information is outside of you everywhere that you actually don't need to know. In some ways, I'm glad I'm ignorant. I'm glad I don't have a teacher or I read books, because there's so much we don't need to know. And I'd rather have you know, I don't want my brain to be fried with information from here, there, and everywhere. It just keeps you in the mind. I'd rather have my mind open in feeling mode to attune to consciousness and just receive. Just allow the brain to be open and just receive. And the other, you know, cognizant gift, I mean, there's many that are really now starting to come online for people all over the world, and we will see a huge rise in the you know, clairvoyance, clairaudience, telepathy between us, telepathic communication between us. I've been told probably in the last month that that is now online. So I'm laughing at myself. So it's just that I was told that in a learning dream about a month ago, that the telepathic communication is now literally available, that it'd been dormant for years and it was now available. And I was told that in a learning dream, and this is, you'll know why I'm laughing in a minute. And in the dream, I said, but I don't know how to use it. Right? So with that, an angelic being came into the dream and said, you know, to this donut, to this Mandy that's ignorant, she said, I'll show you how to use it. And with that, I was woken up from sleep. And that angelic being was speaking to me as if they were right here next to me, and said, this is how you use it. So in other words, she was using the telepathy she could already use to explain to Mandy in ignorance and forgetfulness how to use what she couldn't remember. You know, it's a laugh being me sometimes, because I am so ignorant. I just don't learn from the outside, so I don't know much at all except what comes from me. Yeah. Anyway, where was I? I've completely forgotten. I've gone right off track. What I want to get back to though is the mind. That was it. Is clear intellect, which you don't really hear much about. That is to come. After clear cognizance is clear intellect, and that will be where instead of that light package of data opening up within you and you just suddenly know stuff and you get to think about that and be with that, it's different to that. It's just sudden talking of things that just come through you, things that the human character, personality doesn't know, but the talking comes through you from your direct consciousness. So it's not channeling information, it's not coming from another species or being, it's coming, it's you. It's you being consciousness. And you being consciousness is only available if the brain, if the mind is open. If it's not, you know, doing this, if you're just being empty of thought, then there is, and I feel it will be next year, 2025, where the information will just be spoken through the person, but it is literally their consciousness speaking, not the character, not the personality, not the mind, but consciousness, utilizing the body, utilizing the throat through an empty mind, through the state of being. And you can call that clear intellect, but I've been shown that a number of times now in the last year and a half, that is going to occur for people around the world. It will just be their consciousness speaking through the body. So back to the mind. I just want to take us deeper into being human, you know, with love and compassion at being human. The journey of us, you know, thinking we are these characters, you know, and we're playing and doing and speaking as these characters, but actually, you know, all of these characters, we're not these characters. We're consciousness projecting the character into this reality. And this character, say Mandy, yeah, is viewed differently by every single person. Every single character outside of her, Mandy is viewed different, and it's the same for you. Hello, Staveta. It's nice to see you. It's the same for Staveta and you and you and you. Is that you play a role to different people in the world. If you're a mother, and let's say you have 3 children, well, each of those children will see the mother differently. The mother will seemingly play a different role to each of those children. So it is that the characters in this illusion, you experience yourself, and nobody experiences you the way you experience yourself. But to somebody in your reality, you know, you could be a loving, beautiful, caring, angelic presence. And to another person in your illusion, you know, you could be the, you know, ooh, I don't like using these words, but you, you know, you could be the, oh gosh, see how it stops, it won't even come out. But you could be somebody that triggers these people, say, and then these people view you as the bad person, as the demon, as the bad girl or bad boy, say, okay. But they're just role plays. So you as a character, even though you experience yourself in your unique way, every single person you encounter, whether it is within spiritual community or down at the supermarket or within your family, everybody experiences you differently. And that is how it's created by God. It's exactly the game. But the mind of the human character, okay, the character itself, this is where I want to go really deep and hold space of so much care and understanding. we can only have compassion through our own experiences of being human. A being from Lyra or the Pleiades, if they haven't ever had the lifetime of experiencing a human being, they can hear and sense, but they don't truly know what it's like to be human here, plunged into forgetfulness, to then slowly, step by step, come out of that forgetfulness. They don't know what it's like. The compassion comes through being human, through having experiences, through having trauma and pain and difficulties, and coming out of them. When you're out of them, the compassion is endless for anyone in the world, because you understand, even if you haven't had their experience directly, you understand. And that's your consciousness that comes through. It's so compassionate. So, with that said, the character that allows the mind to operate it, yeah? It's by letting go of the mind, the character's mind. It's by having that courage at right timing, without force, no force whatsoever. But it's the letting go of these characters, the minds of these characters, your mind, that you become pure consciousness. You see, the mind of the character, and this is where I hold so much love and space, but the mind of the character, if you really be with it deeply, utterly deeply, you'll have to admit that the only reason the mind holds on to a particular state of consciousness is because the mind thinks that's the only way to be in control of its life, to feel in control of its life. In other words, there's a fear within the mind, and it's a very, very, very deep fear of letting go of the very mind that keeps it submerged within a particular state of consciousness. See, that's what we learned as growing up as children, to try and stay in control of our life. And when we look outside of us today, at the world and all the different things that are going on in different countries, etc., we can see, and all the information that's coming up, we can see that even at different states of awakening, there is still this desire to control one's own reality, to control one's own life. And all that is the personality, the character, the identity trying its best to survive. And it does that by subtly, deeply trying to remain in control of its own life. Excuse me. But it's that gets let go of at each one's right timing. You see, it's that program in the brain. It's the elephant in the room within that program of, okay, this is all happening outside of me, but I need to stay in control of my life. I need to not let this and that and this and that affect me, and I need to rise up against this, and I need to rise up against that, and I need to get into lots of debates so that I prove I'm right. You know, it's just all the brain. It's the program running, going rampant in its spin, in the atomic spin that's evident and accelerating within everyone. So you get to choose whether to let that fast spin within the brain, you know, run you, take you over, or whether to just take a moment and feel within you. And then you can feel the fast spin with no thoughts. And when you can feel the fast spin within you, within your body, you just allow yourself to become it. And when you become it, it is you. So there's nothing to fight. You're just allowing yourself to become energetically faster, but at an energetic level, not as this human thinking fast thoughts at a fast pace, reading this post and then this post and then this post, and by the time you've got to the fourth post, you've forgotten what you've read on the first post. It's overload of information. Overload. Is that what you want to do to yourself? Overload the mind. Keep yourself in the mind. The mind is... There's nothing wrong with the mind. Please don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with it, but you're not designed to stay in it. And it's like I say, what happens when at ready point, you're ready to just let go of the mind, meaning the character's thoughts, the character operating through the mind. It's such a great fear within human beings to let that go. But it's when you let it go, you actually become so much more. And you realize there was nothing to fear in the first place about letting go. I remember years ago, I thought that there was a leap, you know, that we reach a point where we have to leap. And a couple of years ago, I had a learning dream. Learning dream is like a very, very clear, precise, very detailed, as if it's almost real dream. That's what I mean by a learning dream. And a couple of years ago, my consciousness gave me a learning dream, just to teach Mandy, make Mandy aware. And it showed me as Mandy, as a character in the dream, on this ledge. And as the character, I didn't know how to leap. And I was how do I leap? How do I leap? I didn't know how to leap. And that was a couple of years ago. And what I know now is that that is the character that thinks that there is a leap. There isn't. It just happens. It happens very gently and subtly, just as a stage. There's nothing to try or force. It's just that there's this thing going on where, you know, the character is sort of dissolving its programs, dissolving its programs. And as that character dissolves the program, so the consciousness becomes you and becomes you and becomes you and becomes you. But as the character that's trying to survive in the world, the brain can almost hide a very deep core fear, which is letting go of the mind. And it's not that if you let go of the mind, you'll go crazy, or you won't be able to go to work, or you won't be able to do things. It's not that at all. It doesn't happen that way. It's like I say, the letting go of the mind allows the consciousness to become you. And it just happens, you know, gradually, slowly. I remember when I first awoke, over 12 years ago now, it was through learning transcendental meditation that actually, you know, awakened me. Although I didn't realize that was going to happen. I learned meditation because I was, you know, 2010 to 2012, I had a lot of inner anxiety because of the job I was doing. And I just wanted to help myself relieve the anxiety I had. And I was on medical tablets for it. And I thought, no, I really want to do this myself and find a way to relieve anxiety. So I went to learn TM, Transcendental Meditation. And just during those first few weeks of learning it, we were shown a video by Maharishi. And one of his students asked him, well, if that's all it takes, then why can't we just suddenly become consciousness? Why can't we just change suddenly and help change this world? And Maharishi's response to him was something along the lines of, if it happened that quickly, you would just combust. You wouldn't be able to survive that radical change. And so, you know, for everyone, no matter your culture, whether it is from India or the Maori or Native American or Hawaiian culture, or, you know, any culture, it is all this westernized way of awakening. It just happens step by step, gradually, based on what you choose daily to focus on. And that's, you know, the beauty, the utter beauty of God, the all-giving of God, is that whatever people choose to focus on, it's almost like God says, oh, that's okay. You know, you focus on that if that's what you wish to focus on. You know, God will wait an eternity for any being to return back to source. But wait with love, utter, infinite love. So it is about what we focus on. Bear in mind, again, just to repeat, the fastest spin, you get to choose in each moment to just almost be in ignorance. And by ignorance, I just mean not knowing. That's all it means. But you can be in ignorance of realizing that the brain is working faster and faster and thinking incessantly and boom, 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 boom. Or you can choose to just notice that and step back from the thoughts. And it's when we choose to slow down the thoughts, what we're doing is we're coming away from that program. And it's like I said in the last video I did, it's by being in that silence, by slowing down your mind, that you actually become aware of more information, or you actually see a different reality in front of you, or you can actually hear clairaudiently another conversation that's occurring, maybe the other side of the world. Yeah, it's by slowing down the mind, that program that really, really dominates human beings. But you have to be aware of yourself to do that. You have to be aware and then make the choice to not keep feeding this or keep feeding that. Because again, it's just the mind, scurrying around all over the place, in lots of different various places of interest, that the mind may be interested in. Okay, and again, there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. I'm just trying to help you see what's happening in the world, but from a bird's eye view, see what's happening. Try not to get too immersed in the changes and too immersed in the mass information, or too immersed in dialogues, because with a lot of people's brains and the spin being so fast now, you could easily just sort of enter the ring for debate and all of that, which I did explain last year. It doesn't help, ultimately it doesn't help. It may make the ego feel bigger at the time, or feel pleased with itself at the time, but ultimately it doesn't change your consciousness. No information outside of you changes your consciousness. It's your choice to go inward. It's your choice to self-observe, be fascinated by your human being. Don't put your human being down, but just be fascinated by how it reacts, or how it is, or how it thinks. Do it with a fascination that is love-based, rather than putting yourself down. It takes that inner looking to actually see the programs running, to actually see these behaviors. If you're not looking at self, then they're just running you, and they'll just keep running you for the rest of your life, which is fine. That will happen for some people. There's nothing wrong with that. But when you do choose to look at self, that's when you can see. It's that self-inquiry of the human. You want to know more about self. It's inner introspection. And then the choice every day of what to give your focus, and how long to give your focus to any particular thing. There's always this point of knowing when something is done and when you shouldn't be focusing on that anymore. You can feel it. So I feel I've talked enough. Sorry for the ramble. I hope some of that makes sense. Just going to take a moment just in case there's anything else I feel to say to help you. I don't think there is. I think I just want to giggle. Everything is within you. I think one of the hardest things, one of the hardest things for any human being to do, apparently, it is actually be silent. It is actually to still the thoughts. I think it must be. I mean, we have to laugh, right? We do. It must be one of the hardest things for any human being to do. I remember years ago, somebody I knew experienced a lot of stress. And so I just said in passing, well, that I do meditation, and it just naturally accrues. TM meditation is the type of meditation that you do twice a day for 20 minutes every day. And what happens is it accrues and accrues and accrues year on year on year on year. And so you just become more chilled out. You just do. You don't need any tablets. Anyway, I said to this person, I do meditation, and it really helped me relax. And they said, oh, I could never do that. I could never keep still long enough. And then somebody else I mentioned it to said, oh, no, I couldn't do that. That would be boring. It's the opposite. It really is the opposite. If you choose to go past the astral realms, because the astral realms can be a beautiful place, but it's also a place of further distraction if you wish to become enlightened this lifetime. It's sound and images, yeah. You can manifest instantly within the astral realm, but it's the lower fourth dimension. And so, there's all sorts of energies there that aren't particularly pleasant, that you can inadvertently pick up without being aware of it. So, it's to go beyond the astral realms, beyond all phenomena, and be willing to be in the silence of no thought and no images and no sound. And when you reach that state, it's the biggest fascination that ever existed. It's because it's limitless, it's infinite, it's complete, it's more alive than being a human being. So anyway, it is funny that in some ways, just in a very light-hearted way, is that it is one of the hardest things for a human being to do, is to be silent, and yet it's when you reach that silence where there is nothing, but it's all alive. It's something you want to have again and again, and it's something you want to become all the time. And there's the absence of all mental suffering and all emotional suffering. And, imagine a world like that. Heaven on earth, wouldn't it be? And that is what we've come to bring. It is. So I shall shut up, as I always say, and I hope some of that helps any one person, and if not, just leave it be. And please know that even though I'm posting less at the moment and have been posting less mostly for quite some months now, it is because of my own path stage and the knowing of what to focus on within me. That's the only reason. Things are changing, and you know, my deepest desire is to help in ways that are of a completely embodied state. I know that's the greatest way I can help, and that's why I've gone a bit quieter in recent months, because I know I have to be. But I also know that you know, I'll always be supporting, maybe in different ways, but I'll always be supporting humanity and you and any that resonate for the rest of this lifetime. It's just that the ways may change into more direct ways as God wills it. So thank you. Thank you for being a part of my journey, just as it's wonderful being a part of yours. It's beautiful. Okay, God bless. Bye-bye for now.